Yo, what up with you folk, man? One of the reasons why a lot of people are opting out on having kids is because, well, look how expensive it is, to live. You know what I mean? And it's affecting, everybody in almost every state, as far as my life is concerned, in the United States. I know from, I want to say like maybe like Fairfax, Virginia, and further up north, the cost of living is utterly fucking ridiculous, man. There are people out here who literally have to work two, three jobs just to support their fucking selves. You know what I mean? And some of these people may have, I shouldn't say a job, but a career working for, the city or the state or the military. And yet they still have to work another job or two just to support themselves. You know what I'm saying? And the other reason is that look how, you know, some of the women are looked at. You know what I'm saying? Especially, if they're single mothers, they're looked at as, less valuable. And anytime to me, yo, you look at human beings, as, valuable, they're looked at as fucking property, like slavery days. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty much looked at as if they're fucking materials. And I'm not with that shit. Man or woman, I don't give a flying fuck. You know what I'm saying? I don't, I understand, you know, and know why they, some people use, that term, but I'm not the one now that condones this shit. I want no parts of this fucking society that of where society is right now. You feel me? But anyways, man, it's back to what I was saying. It's how some of these women are being looked at. You know what I'm saying? And if like I said from before, years, for women that are there, that for women out there that are single mothers, like speaking of it, they're looked at as less valuable. And then what that for the other women that sees that shit, you know what I'm saying? They may, say like, yo, like, what's the point of having kids? You know what I'm saying? And then not only that shit, it's not even just women that are looking at that shit. You got men that are looking at that like, yeah, having kids are not even fucking worth it. Now I'm not saying that's the mentality of, all men and women, like, no. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, on top of that shit, it's the and how people are being raised inside the family home, their environment, pretty much their childhood. You know what I'm saying? And I said it before, like that can affect your way of thinking, of or the term of being normal in the worst fucking goddamn way. It's gonna affect your entire way of living. And it may seem normal, but is that shit fucking healthy? You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example of what they deem that as normal. You know, for possibly hundreds of fucking years, teenagers, were allowed to get married and have kids. Personally, me, that's a hell fucking no. You know, but so it was normal, but doesn't mean it's gonna, have in a healthy, life, you know, when those individuals grow to be adults. More than likely, fucking no. You know what I'm saying? So whenever I know what's going on around me. And most of the time I don't say shit. I'm observant as fuck because it's so easy to fucking judge someone based on the surface. It's no different from seeing, an issue out there, right? And automatically you're quick to fucking judge. But like I said, that's just the surface of shit. There's a whole lot more to it. If there's a surface, there's got to be something beneath, right? You know what I'm saying? So the whole entire thing about people, especially women who are opting out as that's not as, but they choosing not to have any kids, is because of what society is constantly projecting, and and seeing how women are being treated. It's I personally believe that it's more than effect on women that it is men. I'm not saying it's not affecting both parties. I'm not saying that shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's time to change. This whole fucking narrative. It's time to fucking get rid of the majority of all these traditions and the way of living in which things seemed as normal. Because at the end of the day, you know like I said from before, is that shit healthy? You know and we really have to take a hard look at ourselves, because at the end of the fucking day, coming from me, I'm not the type of person to be judging people unless you're really causing fucking harm on somebody. You got some serious evil intentions, then yeah, I got a fucking problem. But also, also, at the same time, also, is that you don't know what the fuck people are going through, because what you see is just on the fucking surface. You know what I'm saying? And that's in regards to men and women. There are people out here who know that they came from a fucked up childhood, and now they're actively changing their narrative, the narrative or narratives, because they want to live a better life, for themselves and for those that have kids, but because how society looks at single parents, especially single mothers, you know some people are just so quick to fucking judge. Like I said from before, if you don't want someone to be so quick to say, to judge you and look at you in a very negative light, knowing that you have gone through so much shit in your life, you don't want that for yourself, right? Why the fuck would you want it for somebody else? So when you see all these people that don't want to have kids, look at the fucking society, man. Look at the fucking environment. Anyways, yo, I'll catch y'all later on, man. Peace and love to you, cuz.